Our second wedding was small. No clauses, no deadlines, no rule-keeping affection outside the paperwork. Just family, close friends, Grace asleep in Mrs. Blackwood's arms, and Ethan waiting at the end of a short aisle, with red eyes he pretended were not red. Chloe cried harder than I did. Zach gave her tissues and earned a glare. I have waited for this day since I first realized my son's frozen face changed whenever she entered a room. Mr. Blackwood looked proud enough to forgive Ethan for almost making everyone wait years. I walked toward Ethan, remembering the first marriage, a contract, a rescue plan for Reed Group, a partner too silent to read. I had thought I was a convenient wife. He had thought he was too late, too unwanted, too cowardly to confess. We had lived beside each other, both starving for the same love. This time, when he took my hand, there was no condition about sons, daughters, or separation. Grace woke during the ceremony and made a small sound. The whole room laughed. Ethan glanced at her, then at me, and for a moment his face held everything he rarely said aloud. At the reception, Chloe joked that Grace had stolen the ceremony spotlight.
She had inherited my timing.
Zach said she had inherited my timing. Ethan held Grace with one arm and me with the other, like he finally believed we were not leaving.
Do you regret it?
Later, when the guest had gone, I asked him whether he regretted losing all those years. He looked at Grace sleeping between us, then touched my wedding ring. His answer came not as a new promise, but as a certainty already lived. We would spend the rest of our lives paying time back. Reed Group stabilized fully within a year. Ethan insisted that the rescue had never been charity, because the company still had value. I knew that was only partly true. He had saved it because he loved me before I knew how to love him back. Still, I learned to accept help without turning it into humiliation. I also began working again in design, slowly at first, between feeding schedules and sleepless nights. Ethan arranged nothing unless I asked, which was perhaps the most difficult kindness for him. He respected that motherhood did not erase me. Mrs. Blackwood watched Grace when I had meetings. Chloe became my loudest supporter, even when she understood only half my sketches. Vivian sent a letter from overseas after her follow-up treatment. It was brief, formal, and free of the old thorns. She said she was recovering, studying again, and learning how to live without chasing someone who never belonged to her. I placed the letter away with the return necklace. Some apologies did not demand friendship. Some only closed a door. Zach and Chloe became more ridiculous by the month. He proposed in a way so public that Chloe called it embarrassing while crying into his shoulder. I told her not knowing how to answer was already an answer. She accused me of becoming wise after pregnancy. At home, Ethan grew softer in ways no outsider would believe. He let Grace pull his tie. He learned to braid hair on a doll because he wanted practice. When I teased him, he asked what was wrong with preparation. Nothing was wrong. That was the miracle. After so many misunderstandings, our happiness was ordinary enough to feel unreal. Grace's first birthday arrived with more ceremony than any one-year-old needed. Mrs. Blackwood ordered decorations. Chloe handled photos. Zach handled nothing correctly but claimed emotional contribution. Ethan approved every detail with the severity of a board meeting. The cake was soft pink, with tiny sugar stars. Grace smashed one hand into it before anyone could stop her. Ethan froze. I laughed so hard I nearly cried.
Would that irritate your skin?
He asked whether sugar on her sleeve would irritate her skin. Mrs. Blackwood told him to stop being dramatic. Watching him panic over frosting, I remembered the man who had once said he did not like children. I remembered his cold face at dinner, his demand for a son, my heartbreak. The impossible sight of him kneeling in an attic chapel. Back then, I had thought I was discovering contradiction. Now I knew I had been discovering fear. Ethan had been afraid to want too much, afraid that I would leave, afraid that if he confessed, I would reject him as I had unknowingly done years before. So he hid love under logic, tenderness under silence, desire under contracts. It almost cost us everything. That night, after Grace fell asleep, Ethan and I cleaned cake from the floor. He looked at the tiny ruined dress and said,
"We should save it."
Why?
I asked why.
It was her first birthday.
I told him he was becoming sentimental. He did not deny it. Later, he placed warm water by my bed as always. I wore the necklace he had once failed to return. The ring on my hand caught the light. I had entered this marriage to save my family. Somehow, I had been saved too.